Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm currently saying hello in the YouTube chat, and today is another Q&A episode. I figure we talk about AI and SEO this time around, making it the same as every other time around, but just being more honest about it. And there's a bunch of new things coming out and the AI side of things, and wanted to talk about that. So I'll remind people to ask questions, and when we build up a big enough list, we'll start going through those. And you can also suggest topics if you have topics you'd like to have discussed. Let me pop out the YouTube chat, and let's see, let me activate my camera. All right. So how are you today, Lee?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I think today, right after Fight Club, is Bing's big news event, and then tomorrow morning is Google's big news event. So we get to see who's claiming world dominance in AI and what it means for the rest of us.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. And it's kind of weird because over on Signals Lab, there are all these threads about people saying that AI will be punished by Google, and there's no way it's going to help you rank in SEO, and it makes absolute garbage content. And how does Google respond to ChatGPT? They build their own version of it.
Right.
So it's like there's this weird, total, sense of denial that half of our industry has right now. Like they're totally misreading the room. And I'm like, how can these people misread the room so badly? And it's like, I get it that if you don't know what you're doing with ChatGPT, the content is total garbage. But if you do know what you're doing with ChatGPT, nobody knows you're using it.
Mhm.
And so it's amazing. And there's these new detectors that came out. OpenAI came out with a GPT detector, and the thing is buggy and wishy-washy. And on all of my content, the worst it would rate any of my stuff that I was doing my way was it's unclear as to
Yeah.
whether or not it was written. And I've seen people use the perplexity method. I don't know if you saw this. There's a YouTube video by a channel called Success in AI that did a perplexity method for prompting content that scores you 100% human written time after time after time on all of the detectors. I don't know. What do you think about the weird denial and the detection and all of
Well,
that?
the weird denial is fairly common, because I'll go back a little bit. If we go back to, Google 1.0, we look at the reasonable surfer method and, sort of naturally occurring links. Back in those days, and naturally, if your website had 1,000 links and mine had 500 links, yours was a better page than mine. It's just fairly simple. And then, Google could use that information and say, hey, this is a better page. We'll just, rank pages using, this as a factor. But then marketers come along and we screw that up. Like, oh, I just need to go get, 1,001 links, and then I'm number one. That sort of screws up the game, and that's always been the game. Google works best in a utopian environment where bad marketers don't try to manipulate things. Then everything works as it should, but that's not the world that we live in. So when you look at Google pronouncements. The Google pronouncements over time have always been, you shouldn't do these things to manipulate or bad things happen. It's always been that way. But testers have found where that's true, where some of those statements are true and where they're not true. So you have always had people who just believe everything that Google pronounces hook, line, and sinker as the method, and those that don't. AI is just the latest iteration of that, where they say, oh, you shouldn't use AI content, but we're going to announce 20 AI products, including our own chat thing, which is going to be utilized for content, because that's what everybody's trying to do with ChatGPT. So the AI detectors thing, I think that right now the AI detector thing is foolish in my view, because one, we don't know whether Google actually cares whether you're utilizing AI content or not. There's been no data that I've seen that suggests that they care. My own data says, no, they don't care. We still have lorem ipsum, random alpha, pure chat GPT or other AI tool content ranking and ranking well. And if Google was going to build its own AI detector, they're not going to use the ones that are publicly available. Those are just crude models. Google would have a much better, more efficient method for doing that. So I giggle at the claims that, hey, this particular method is detection proof, because I'm not sure that they are. If you're using, any sort of AI tool to do that, if Google cared, they can find a way to figure that out. And of course, we can find a way to defeat that. But just the concept right now of feed a prompt to an AI, have the AI generate it, it beats AI detection, to me is foolish. I just don't buy it.
Well, and it turns into a whack-a-mole game. So let's say, let's do the thought experiment. You punish AI content in search, then, okay, you've created a weapon for me. Now I can use AI content in a positive review about a product and tank the product. And then people say, well, Google will make an exception for user-generated content, to which I say, great, now I have an exception to the AI punishment. So we're back at square one. So it becomes a whack-a-mole game. And I don't think Google can punish it. Like, they might not value it, but I highly doubt they can punish it, because then they're creating a weapon that anybody doing reputation management could instantly become a millionaire with. So I doubt they'll punish it. And they're making the technology too. They're not going to punish themselves. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, I think that last point is probably the most important one. They're going to be using, the images on the press release imply that they'll be using an interface inside of the search results for Baird, right? So if they're saying, hey, this is good enough to answer search queries, then why wouldn't it be good enough for other publishers to use it to answer search queries? I think the whole detection thing, it's cool. It's probably good if you're in a your money, your life niche, to have that if you're buying content from people, so that you can just kind of make sure that at least know that that's what you're getting and you can edit it properly. But other than that, I'm going all out with building sites with it. So.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for schools to be able to figure out if you cheated on a homework assignment. That application makes a lot of sense, but this notion that the search industry is going to kill itself, this notion that even OpenAI is going to build something that's going to harm itself in terms of adoption and usage. No, and it really, their detector really came off as half-hearted. It's like they don't want it to be so good that it hurts themselves. And so it came out, but it's mitigating risk. If it's uncertain, it tells you it's uncertain, and just about everything it's uncertain. And so that's the state of it, is they can't tell you with certainty. And And so if nobody can tell you with certainty, then the collateral damage will be through the roof. It's not going to be punished anytime soon. The other thing is that a lot of what comes out of ChatGPT right now, if you just ask a basic question, is going to be duplicate content, because it kind of repeats the same answer over and over again. You actually have to know what you're doing to get a unique response out of the system. And a lot of people, they don't take the time to learn to use a tool. And a lot of the SEO industry is guilty of that. They dive right in and then proclaim it sucks. And that's not really how you master something, I know a lot of people know how to bring out a tape measure, but not a lot of people can cut an exact piece of lumber. Like, one is a skill, and one is somebody that, functionally knows how something works, but it doesn't mean they're good at it, or that they know what they're doing with any amount of expertise. Similarly, lots of people know how to use hammers, they know how they work, but not everyone can drive a nail straight. Some things take technique. So yeah, there's all of that. And what is it with branding? Like, Google's coming out and calling it Bard. Like, why all of a sudden do all of these companies have like no ability to brand? Like, ChatGPT is a horrible brand name, Mum is a horrible brand name, Bard is a horrible brand name. To be honest, it's like, it kind of feels like they're asking ChatGPT to do all of their branding. And so I hope some marketer takes a look at what's going on here and says, hey, we need to stop letting these AI people do the marketing, because it's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. And well, I guess it probably doesn't matter at all, but damn, it looks bad. It looks like they just don't care how messy it looks or how half-assed it looks. So I don't know. If you're watching Google, if you're watching Bing, actually put a real marketer on this. They need some help. So Lee.
Yes.
You have been playing with AI for a while now. Does it rank stuff?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a comment in the chat here. Person used ChatGPT for keyword research, then have the AI content written. Look it over usually, although I'm trying a site with 100% AI content with no editing. That's Terry. And somebody else said they're getting decent bit of search impressions on a couple of posts that are pure ChatGPT, no edits, from the test site that I told them to set up. So, a lot of people are taking advantage of saying, hey, let's just go see, what we can do with this. And, if you've got a decent prompt, not just a standard, like what is SEO, then it's going to give you the boilerplate that everybody else has got. But if you got a decent prompt, copy paste that output in, it's indexing and ranking.
Yeah. And my 13-year-old managed to beat all detection schemes with the most silliest notion I've heard. Like, I brought up the fact that there's going to be detectors, and he's going to be like, well, oftentimes I just need a list of things. And so he's like, you can't tell me they're going to detect a list of state animals sorted alphabetically. Oh, no human being would arrange a list this way. And it's like, how are they going to watermark it, And so there's all these use cases as well where you can't watermark the information. It's like, the second you sort it, if it's something that's sortable, you're going to break whatever it is they're doing. And yeah, it's just kind of crazy in that regard. I've been having a ton of success using AI for supplemental content. And I've I really like it for that purpose because it lets you separate CRO from SEO and let them stay in their own lane.
So
And
what
a
do you
lot
mean when you say supplemental content, so because it's an unusual term, what do you mean when you say supplemental content?
It shouldn't be an unusual term. It's a white hat term. It comes from the Google Quality Raters guidelines. It means the extra content on the page that is relevant to the topic that is not the main content. And so there are all kinds of supplemental content widgets that you can find, like, if you're on a web page about puppy dog coffee mugs, it could be other popular, puppy dog cuppy mugs. It could be other puppy themed products. It could be other mug products. It could be, other trending products. All of those things are supplemental content, similar posts, related stories. All of those things are supplemental content. And the Quality Raters guidelines expects you to have it. It rewards you for having relevant supplemental content. And it actually works against you if you don't have it. And AI is great at generating topically relevant supplemental content. And you can actually rank the whole page from the supplemental content. You don't have to rank the page from the main content. And so if you can rank the whole page from the supplemental content, why not leave the main content for CRO and rank the page from these supplemental content widgets? And it allows you to keep CRO and SEO in their own lane. It allows you to keep the main content of the page human readable and for the visitor. It makes SEO dead simple because you don't have to fold in aggressive SEO tuning into the main content and make sure that it doesn't scare humans. Now, all of a sudden, your SEO is easy. And these AI tools can make the carousels and accordions that you need right out of the gate. So I don't know, man. Everybody who's naysaying AI for SEO, I think they're missing the mark.
Yeah. Clint, you haven't been around for a while. You've been kind of quiet the last few weeks, working hard. Have you had a chance to play around with AI content and, get duly punished for using it?
Not punished. I guess the definition of punish, spank me to the top, baby. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm playing with a couple new applications of it. As you know, I get more into the affiliate stuff too, just kind of diversify the income, right? And I have this thing where I take a landing pages from the affiliate offer and I'll copy it, change my affiliate links, and then actually rank that page versus ranking their landing page that they give you, right? And doing what Ted talks about is that supplemental content is how I accomplish that. I strip it down. I keep the primary CRO stuff on there, and then I have this supplemental content hidden in a tab or whatever that'll rank that particular page for me. So, and he's right. The AI stuff makes that a whole lot faster. City pages, you talked about those. I came up with 5 prompts. It takes my team 3 minutes a city page to make. The longest part is finding the map to embed on it. That kind of stuff. That's what I think that content wise, ChatGPT is awesome. Press releases, I mean, you can see all those services, magicpr.net. That's a horrible service, and you can get ChatGPT to write a press release for you.
I was waiting for that one.
So I think there's plenty of uses for it. It does require your imagination. I think if you are one of those folks that just spits out, or looks for tools that spits out these mass sites and stuff, the playing field has just been leveled. And I think you're going to, unless you actually know SEO now, you're going to get pushed out pretty quick. I mean, I've got scripts now that I can spit out a 400-page AI generated website in about an hour. So, and that's kind of what you're playing against now. So, who I think should worry is not SEOs, unless you're an SEO that's a one-trick pony. But I think those people that are, I mean, like services like iWriter, dead. Writers that write for iWriter, dead. People who do one-off coding, like I'm going to help you with your coding, dead. I mean, Ted and I've put in all kinds of broken code in there and had ChatGPT fix it like that. So it's all those, one trick pony, minimal skills kind of people. AI is coming for your jobs, so you better get good at something.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, logo designers, you need to be worried because like using Midjourney for designing logo ideas, it gets you the same output for like a 99 Designs logo contest. Yeah. It does it in about 40 minutes and it costs $30. And so, I think logo designers need to figure something out because that's going to be a shakeup. And I'm sad about that one because I know logo design, since the .com era has been a real prideful, way of making revenue and putting your mark on the world. And so that's kind of a sad one that's probably going to be hit hard.
I don't know if it'll get rid of the good ones. And when I say good ones, those are the ones that actually take branding and brand voice and all that stuff into consideration for you and then come out with a good design. It's going to get rid of the Fiverr guys. I mean, those guys are done. And once I figure out how to use the AI to create mini infographics, I won't need Fiverr anymore. So
yeah, another thing that was in the news was Yahoo, and it was remarkable in this search engine roundtable article. It's like Barry misread the poll. He said that survey says that most think Yahoo won't be able to compete in search. And the largest grouping said nope, dead on arrival. But almost 27% said it depends on the UI UX, and almost 30% said yes, now is the time. So that's almost 60% think it depends, or better, that they will be able to. So it's like his headline and the poll don't agree. And the other thing is I've mentioned before in the past that when it comes to market share and search, you don't need the most. Like if a competitor to Google got 45% of the US market, then all of a sudden, everybody has to start treating that competitor and Google as equivalent. We have to give them equal consideration because they both perform about the same at that point. So you don't need to get 75% to turn the tide. You could do it with less than 50%. And there have been times like when I was in ecom, where in my own real world data that like Bing was hitting 35% of organic revenue, and Bing was hitting 35% of organic traffic delivered. So that's within 10 points of me having to treat them with equal consideration to Google. And seeing a poll where almost 60% are open-minded about the possibility of Yahoo competing, and that puts the ball in Yahoo's court, where they have to deliver something cool and fast, but people are willing to take on change. And that's something we haven't seen in recent years, like that willingness to say, yeah, I'd consider Yahoo again. That didn't exist 2 years ago. That's brand new today. And so, yeah, I think it's a sign that the search wars are back in full effect. What do you think?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that Yahoo's results are coming from Bing. And everybody's pretty excited about the Bing Chat GPT, whatever is going to happen there. At least they'll be excited about it until Google tries to trump it with their own version of this. But they're basically tied at the hip there. So if people are excited about Bing, they have to be excited about Yahoo and DuckDuckGo.
All right. Well, let's see if we have some questions we can talk about. How can I build a lot of links to my pages? Have you tried a press release? It's kind of the most cost effective and kind of the safest way if you go through a trusted provider like Magic PR or Press Advantage, 38 Digital Marketing. Those are the three I like to go to. I like to keep multiple services in mind because combined, they allow me to address larger numbers of referring domain deficits. And that's one of my favorite ways to compete with off-page because it minimizes off-page. And minimizing off-page makes for safer SEO. Referring domains are a diversity factor. And like we like to teach in our training, we like people to go wide in signals before going deep in any one signal. And so I just think that's safer and more cost effective. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Lee, what do you think? How can someone build a lot of links?
Yeah, that's a good way. I mean, it also depends on the definition of what's a lot. Like, I was looking at in the gambling, niche, a press release isn't going to cover it. It's, so it depends. But in most niches, some of the safer venues like that are pretty easy for getting you referring domains. I know that Clint plays in some of those bigger niches. How do you get 1 million links in your niches, Clint?
You need to learn tools. You need to learn tools, and if you're in local, I wouldn't be messing with those tools until you spend a couple of years ranking stuff with them. So yeah, like you said, it depends on the definition of a lot. For local, kind of with Ted, the PR stuff is a great starting point, and then you can do some research like a SEO Nitro, PBN stuff if that's within your tolerance level. Or you can do outreach. You're going to spend a little bit more for those, but because you've already done the PR stuff and built this foundation, you need a lot less than what other people are using. So, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at that whole what is enough and what is a lot.
Yeah, he goes on to say he's tried press releases, but it's not profitable using it for every page, and you wouldn't want to do that. You'd only do it on important pages, and they're going to have a shotgun effect. And oftentimes for many, mid-competition websites, you get to 3 or 4 press releases, you're often overpowering the competition. But if you have a massive website, then, obviously that can't be the only thing. And so sometimes you need to think of viral campaigns. So you can create a program where if you create a website review of a product or a service, that person gets a discount code for their ongoing subscription. And it's incentivized, so Google's not going to like it, but there's all kinds of viral incentives. So you could make free software that people will download and link to. You can come up with other viral events. that can do it without the money in the middle. But it always ends up being a trade of value. It's content or tools or offers that people want to share. Those get shared. So make something people want to share and go viral, or like Clint said, learn the black hat tools. But generally on the page rank scale, like you can manually link build to 5, maybe the best in the world can manually link build to 6. But 7 and above, I mean, the numbers are just against you. So you're going to need to go viral, or you're going to need to go black hat, or you're going to need to go media buys, talking television commercials and stadium sponsorships and crap like that. So those are kind of your routes to break past that page rank 6 tier that many people get stuck at. Let's see. All right, is it better to write long meta descriptions for e-commerce pages to include more LSI terms, or to keep it short and readable? Really, for e-com, leverage your supplemental content. You should have all these carousels trying to show people what they're after. So if you have the puppy dog coffee mug product page, you should have carousels for other animal themed mugs, other puppy themed mugs, other puppy themed products, current best sellers. Like all of these product carousels are going to have LSIs and entities and keyword matches. And the cool thing about these supplemental content widgets is they're totally white hat, and you can amplify them by increasing the number of products per carousel. So if all of a sudden you need more words, more matches, take them from 5 products per carousel to 25 products per carousel, and boom, you've added a ton of relevant terms to your otherwise thin product page. And if you can custom edit those carousels to have a short description of each product, and your database has short descriptions, then add the short description to the carousel presentation, and boom, you're adding sentences per product to each page. And yeah, it doesn't need to be hard, and oftentimes you can also address these things with the category navigation. So if you have massive category structure, getting in and tuning that properly is going to add a ton. And so that's another area in e-com. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
No, I think you covered it well.
All right. Next one, I'm getting rankings and traffic for ChatGPT, not even clever prompts, just basic input. Yeah, I'm finding it works at a basic level, but you can, if you have any nervousness at all, it's easy to evade the detectors currently too. You just modify your prompts a little. But yeah, it seems to be working well for me. Do you think Google search will separate to 2 different engines, AI and human being writer? No, I think they're going to still do universal search, where they blend all of their search results together. I think that will continue. I think what'll happen is the organic web results will take an even smaller amount of real estate in universal search. So we'll probably see it go from the 8 or 9 organic results for page 1 down to 6 or fewer to make room for new AI interest content. And that's going to be bad news for SEOs, because it means that page 1 effectively means top 5 or better. And it kind of already does to most of us who are professionals. We know you don't get traffic unless you're in the top 3. But, it's just a harder bar for SEOs. Thoughts on that, Clint?
Splitting it, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think they're going to do it either. It'll be a feature supplement for featured snippets. If they're smart, they'll replace all the featured snippets with that little Baird box that they're proposing in their press release. But right now, that's just a guess. I'd like to see what kind of tool they put out.
What about you, Lee?
I think Bing had an oops yesterday or the day before where it was caught. Some of the search results had at the top of it, sort of an ask me anything. It was sort of a ChatGPT, integration. And I think, that's been where I thought that the search engines were going to go, because some things set up well for questions like that. Some things set up better for, just give me some sites and things like that. If I want to buy some, leopard yoga pants, I don't want to have a history of it or have a conversation about it. I just, I want to buy.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. My writers are editors now. Got to go with the Times. That's Jordan Pierce. Good to see you, Jordan. I agree. Now it's like everyone's an editor with their own meta writers. And yeah, totally. It's all about going back and making sure it's interesting and useful and answers the right questions, and that seems to be more important these days.
That also might be a pivot. Everybody's afraid. I'm a writer. I'm going to lose my job. And we know that AI generated content sometimes has certain structural problems, certain factual problems, and things like that. So, I'm no longer a writer. I'm an editor, because as people try to scale, AI written content up, the need for editors is going to grow. There's the pivot.
I think those people that were SEO content writers who got those big ass content briefs that people were making with tools. I mean, those guys were never writers anyway. They were just editors or researchers. So it won't be too much of a reach for them to go from looking at that and piecing together a content brief to taking ChatGPT and piecing together a piece of content. So they were always editors. They just thought they were writers.
Yep. And let's see, how long will it be before AI can take care of A/B testing and CRO on sites? Well, you can write scripts to do the A/B testing already. I don't know how useful that is, because most of that type of behavior really throws in horrible volatility in your rankings. So I guess it comes down to, what are you A/B testing? If you're A/B testing rankings, it's probably a terrible idea. If you're A/B testing conversion, it's probably a wonderful idea. If you're A/B testing, am I targeting the right words? That's probably a great use, but that's more of a CRO concern. So I think for
models are built for, that's people think that because the content looks really, really good, these, the language models are designed to produce plausible content, plausible output that is readable and sounds intelligent and stuff like that. It's not like if you put in a prompt, go analyze, these pages and extract all of the whatever, figure out the central whatever. It's not really designed to do that. But what it can do is come up with something that is plausible. So, the A/B testing would imply a level of intelligence that's not currently built into just these language models.
This time last year, when I would talk about, all I really want is plausible content, people would chuckle. And
well,
now it's the primary output.
Yeah, what do you want for 2024, Ted? Because I'd like to get a head start on that, since your wishes get granted.
Yeah, I have ideas. I actually want to talk to Jordan Pierce later about an idea, see if he wants to run with it. If he says no, I'm taking it to Clint next. But yeah, I do have a wish list idea for later in the year. I think is cool. Let's see. Let's see. Seems like too much of a liability to give query results without any citation in a public search engine. Do you think Google and Bing will ultimately provide links? A la featured snippets. The problem is Google kind of decided on its own and made a public declaration that featured snippets is not stealing. And not everybody agrees with that notion. And in other areas, in other countries, and other industries, Google declaring that their usage is not stealing has been contested and I believe lost or settled out of court because they were going to lose. In similar areas, like regarding the usage of headlines and news summaries and things of that nature. And so, I don't think that what they're doing is necessarily kosher. And I think if they can say that it's fair use and not stealing and is fine for public consumption, then why can't we do that too? So if they can do it, why can't we do it? And so, the slippery slope is, if they set that standard, then that's how the world works. And if the world doesn't push back on the standard, then that's a confirmation of the new normal. So, and again, all the people saying that Google's going to punish it, well, I don't know about that. That's not adding up. Google's response and that belief, they're not in good, strong agreement. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
No.
I think this is really coming about because there's some thought leaders on Twitter running around with the 3 images that they shared in their press release. And look, there's no citations. And I mean, those are representations of how the implementation might look, right? So until they release it, we can't say whether they're going to cite or not. Featured snippets in their current form, they take the content out and then they cite it. And then when you click on the link, you're taken right to where they got it from. I think if they do that with AI, they'll be just fine. And so will publishers. Now, if they don't do that, if they just give an answer that they have AI generate, and then there's some bored clown. I mean, people are going back 30 years on people's Twitters. So I'm sure there's some bored ass clown that'll go back and get those answers and do a search and find if that was a exact use of someone's content. Now you have copyright issues. So, I mean, there's those 2 perspectives.
All right. So a previous question answer has a follow-up. He meant build 25 links to every page. All right. So the old way of doing that was I'd make category microsites. I'd use the Google Merchant Center feed to manage the products on the microsites. I'd build 25 domains of those. They'd be at least 15% different in product mix, which made them even usable in AdWords, according to our Google rep. And so that's the old way of automatically managing an automatic 25 referring domains to every product you launch. The new way of doing it is probably going to be more simple. If you write to a certain standard, there's this notion of downscaling and upscaling the readability. And so you could make a set of 25 domains that will, divvy up your content by category and readability. And so you could upscale your main site to expert level on one category of posts, and you could downscale your readability to explain it to a child, the novice version of your content for another one. And you could do it all with AI tools. And so you could automate the whole thing and get your backlinks and rewrite the content at different information levels. There's a number of ways you can do it. You just got to get clever. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's too much work.
Yeah,
I just go. You can do a couple of things. I would do either a SEO autopilot. That's my preferred, because my VAs have a system and they can knock it out left and right and center. And do the high quality bookmarks. Now you got 25 referring domains. Or get yourself a pbn.hosting account, 25 domains, and a copy of Cora Lite, if Ted will ever update it. And you just run your keyword, and then you have this report, and you just put that report on all 25 of your domains, linking back to your target site. And there you go. You got 25 referring domains, and you've used a tool that you're already using anyway for your on-page optimization if you're smart. And you're just leveraging that tool and that report to get your backlinks, and you get that up.
Well, there's a nugget drop. So that one isn't normally shared. So awesome. Let's see. Next question. Is it possible to rank a website with content only without links? If the keyword is low competition enough, yes. But for a real keyword like yoga pants, not going to happen. Sorry. You probably wouldn't even break into top 100. So just note that at some point there's a reality. And for a keyword like payday loans, the one that comes up in Signals Lab, if you're so good at SEO, why don't you rank for payday loans? Well, because they have 15-year head start on link building, and there's no 3-month package to catch up with that. So you have to face reality at a certain point. Is there a path where you can catch up and be competitive in payday loans? Sure, but it might take 2 to 4 years to effectively pull off a campaign like that, and it would be very expensive, and you'd need a large SEO budget. But the notion that in 3 or 6 months you'll be page 1 for payday loans is kind of silly. I know that wasn't your question. I'm just trying to give you examples that emphasize why there's some truth to ranking without links, and then there's a whole lot of truth of you're going to need them eventually. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, I'm the same. Payday loan argument, that's pretty funny, actually. I mean, I've ranked for some of the hardest terms in adult, and I can tell you we didn't do it without spending at least, $350 a link for 100 links a day. That's kind of the budget you're coming from if you want to mess around with those markets. And payday loans is one of those markets where if you don't come with the dollars, then don't even bother showing up. So it's funny that people would challenge you with that. I find that humorous.
Yeah, it seems to be the most common one. If you're so good at SEO, how come ... And it's usually some example like that.
Yeah. And I would just if I can rank it that easy for payday loans, you think I would be in Signals Lab talking to you motherfuckers? That'd be my response.
Exactly. Let's see. If the SERP for your keyword is very under optimized, so the competition, would you look at the data for the top ranking pages? Well, you're talking about a low competition keyword there. So when people don't compete aggressively for a search term, weird things correlate. So you get these bad advice percolates to the top if you copy people who aren't trying. And so what you need to do at that point is you need to get your data from industry trends, like, the top factors across large numbers of keywords, And then those will give you better starting points for how to tune your pages in the absence of competition. In the context of Quora, that's what the shared average option and the deficit strategy is all about. Because when you check that shared average and pull in that information from the Quora community of shared data, most of the time in a high competition keyword, the shared averages are too low. The competition in a high competition keyword is going to be set so high that the shared averages never win. But when the competition doesn't exist, then those shared averages are at a level that they actually outrank what's being measured on the pages, and then the shared averages govern the advice. So when you check that shared averages box in the deficit strategy in Quora, it almost never comes into play unless it's a low competition keyword, and then it gives you all this great SEO advice. And so that's kind of what you need outside of Quora. That's what you need to do for low competition keywords, is find out what factors actually work everywhere and focus on those. Thoughts?
Yeah, so if you get a low competition thing, if you focus on the basics, you should win. That's just,
All right. Let's see, would be a mix of course, but what should you focus on with under optimize? Well, start with the hot zones, titles, headings, keyword density, entities. Oftentimes, if you do a really good job with the basics, that's going to make you way better than most of the websites. And so if you're not doing a really good job with the basics, I think you need to look first there. And normally people will say, well, my content is awesome and my SEO is great. Well, how come you're not ranking if that's true? So if I run my tools, I bet I'm going to find a lot of deficits in those basics. And so I think you need to maybe take some measurements.
And both of those statements could be true. Your content could be awesome. Your SEO could be great. It's just not great enough. So, be open-minded enough to look out for new things and new opportunities.
Let's see, there's one here I'm trying to understand. What's your thoughts on the Google launch, AI and SERP? What about affiliate and information sites dead? No, I think the world is shifting where you need to think about the information you present. So you need to ask yourself, what questions are people going to ask of the search results? And do I have the information on my website to be a part of that answer? So if somebody goes to a search for SEO tools and says, well, which of these search results can help me with rank tracking, and I don't mention my product's ability to do rank tracking, I'm probably not going to end up in that list. And so when you start to think about the interaction of the web pages in the search results with the AI prompts, you need to make sure that you have the right information on your pages. And so I think people aren't thinking about it correctly. They need to think about the types of information they need to have on page and the types of questions, the prompts that will be asked of competing pages. What do you think, Lee?
I think that's true. I think it goes back, part of my thinking on this goes back to, AI is no better than its training set. And, it's going to gravitate towards the average of its training set. So if everybody was to use AI to write, articles about what is SEO, what is black hat SEO, what is white hat SEO, there's really not going to be much that differentiates any of those. So the key is going to be for common searches, unique information, or ranking yourself for unique searches. Those are going to be the advantages. But just going with, I'm going to fire up the tool and I'm going to go for the common terms, the common keywords, the common topics, you're going to end up right in the middle of the pack. You're not going to end up in those coveted top 3 spots.
All right. So imagine this. A lot of what people are having right now with AI is a failure of imagination and how it can impact search. So imagine going to Google and saying, I am looking for pubs in Seattle, and you get a list of Seattle pubs. And then all of a sudden you say, can you filter these results to pages that mention dartboards?
Mm-hmm.
And so you could, by combining search with AI, now all of a sudden there are these new capabilities where people can get to what they're looking for. And just because it doesn't exist today and you can't imagine those possibilities doesn't mean that the world won't change in those kinds of ways.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think you really need to think about the information that you have on your pages and the types of questions and the types of capabilities that'll probably be around next year. What do you think, Clint?
I kind of agree, but I don't really have more to add to
Okay.
it.
It's fair enough. I mean, it's all speculation, but just keep in mind that the number one flaw everyone has right now is the failure of imagination. They just can't imagine what this technology will do to everything.
Yeah.
And so you gotta really understand that you're going to have to push your imagination hard to kind of see where the world is going to go, because collectively, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of really good ideas, and a lot of them are going to hit home and we never even thought about it. And so I'd imagine a lot of that happening this year. I think Google AI will be able to do most of what SEMrush and Ahrefs does. Well, I think that depends on the application you're thinking of, but
Pretty fucking presumptive.
I think they're largely trying to reverse engineer the link graph. So I think Google already does what they do. But yeah, I think you have a use case in mind, probably topically or keyword research wise, that is probably true. I think there's probably a use case you have in mind, and that's probably true. Let's see. The liability I'm referring to is Google answering health or finance questions as if it were their own answer, and there might be legal issues with giving advice in those areas. Like they can't give legal advice, they can't give medical advice, they can't give investment advice. So yeah, it might be even more complicated than you think in those areas.
Yeah, and that also requires, for a lot of those sort of things, real-time processing of the current state of affairs out there. Like I saw the other day headline on an article that said the best way to invest in AI right now according to ChatGPT, and I'm like, well, fucking ChatGPT was only valid through the end of 2021, so it's the current state of affairs is not part of that data set. So any advice that's based on that is like saying which buggy whip manufacturer should we go with. It's not current, it's not part of today's realm. So you have to, if you're going to have real time, it's able to answer that. That means Google's got to process the new content and process it through the AI training sets very, very quickly in order to have those sort of capabilities. And that is a stretch given Google's current struggle with scale to add that level of processing on top of it. I'm not seeing that in the near future.
All right, so there's a follow-up question for Clint. The person asks, can I start affiliate sites because I'm really nervous? Can I start putting investment and Google Bard AI answer all? Okay, well, I guess they're asking, can they do affiliate sites with AI content, and is that gonna bite them in the butt?
No, I would do it. You're gonna have to probably add a little bit of editing, and then there's some language perspective stuff you got to put in there. Writing it in the first person versus the third. In theory, will get you past the product review updates and all that madness that those guys are going after. But for the most part, I think you're okay. Affiliate sites are actually the best place to test that too, right? So affiliate sites or an informational, like a news site kind of layout, I find those type of sites the best place to test content and on-page theories and that kind of stuff before you take it into your money stuff. So yeah, I would go to town with some affiliate stuff and AI and see how it fares out.
Somebody says, what are your views for using GPT on Google Sheets for programmatic SEO, especially for e-com? I think it's a great idea. So for example, like you could query all of the canonical URLs of a page from their sitemap, hopefully those are canonical. And then you could have AI review a synopsis of each page and tell you the most topical keyword for each page. And then hopefully those are the best target keywords for the page. If not, then you probably want to look into the targeting. And that would make your list of rank tracker keywords and Cora report keywords and volatility tool keywords, because you don't want to necessarily do rank tracking and report creation on the 300 keywords that every page ranks for, because that's a total waste of time and effort. You want to do intentional SEO, where you go for the best opportunity for a page, you rank it as best you can, and then you expand organic keyword reach by mentioning closely related terms on that page. That's kind of the 1-2 process of intentional SEO. And I think it's fantastic for that. You should be able to use AI to do a lot of the work for figuring out the targets, and then you're just proofing the work that it does. So yeah, I like the idea. I think new tools will come out in that regard for consuming sitemaps and getting you, a good way down the road to getting the information you need to actually find problems and tune pages. What do you think, Clint? Google Sheets and AI.
I like that tool. I think the one, if you're talking about the add-on, and there was another one that I found too, and I think those are really handy. But I've been using them to supplement the other stuff, TextRaiser, Cora, or whatever, right? So, but they do give a good snapshot to you. So there's plenty of use cases. If programmatic SEO, just trying to imagine how that would work, leveraging that. And I instantly went to tag pages for entities, linking back to all the pages that use that entity in your site. That's kind of where my mind went with that stuff. I'd be interested to hear more of how they would leverage that for programmatic stuff.
So someone asks, is it safe to use GPT generated content if it's tweaked to be undetectable by all detectors? My thought there is every single SEO that's worth a damn ought to have at least one ranking AI content page. And the reason every SEO that's worth a damn should have at least one ranking AI content page is because that is a canary in the coal mine test. And if Google or anyone else ever decides to punish AI ranking content, then we will all collectively see our canaries die together on the same event. And so at a minimum, I think you should be dabbling in this because as a community, we will all have better data if you do. What do you think, guys?
Well, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I'm not sure that the AI detection is either necessary or any of the AI detectors are in fact accurate depictions of what Google may have as its own AI detector. So I don't bother trying to beat it until I see that, you know, Google's doing it, which is why we build the websites with pure ChatGPT content. You know, when they get taken down, if all of them get taken down, I'm like, well, there you go. Now they're after it.
All right, let's see. How important is it to include auto-suggest and related searches in your content? So in the intentional SEO model, where you tune the page for the best target keyword, then the related searches are for keyword reach. You simply mention them, you don't tune the page for them. And they expand the breadth of organic search volume that you will see on the page. They don't impact your rankings. They impact your organic traffic levels after you've successfully ranked a page. So how important is it? You know, I'd say it's a good phase 2. It's not your initial concern. You want to rank for one keyword well. That's the cost of entry to even play the game. Any thoughts on related searches?
I think you said auto-suggested and related searches, and I see those two as two different, though, right? Was his question for auto-suggested?
Yeah, he mentioned both.
So that auto-suggested gets a little hairy because while they are quasi-related, sometimes they can just go off the rails, right? So I would be more careful with those. The related searches stuff, I use those in headers. That's how I build my content outline. All these people making this 50-page document to hand people, just find your keyword, go to related searches, and it gives you all your heading tags. They're all right there. So that's how I would leverage those. But yeah, like you said, I don't optimize any more than just using them in the headings. I'm not going back and running 6 quarter reports for each heading to make sure I hit that target.
Let's see. What is your process of evaluating needed resources to rank for a keyword? This isn't a pitch, but I mean, it's how I honestly do it. I run a Quora report and I look at phases 1 through 4, and I can usually cost the work it's going to take to rank the page. I also run a volatility report because if there are time sharing issues, then there are problems you need to fix before you even attempt to rank the page. And SEOs often neglect those and they dive into ranking the page and they wonder why they're getting fired 6 weeks later. It's because you neglected the technical SEO issue that blocks the ranking. So yeah, you know, that's what I do. I look for the technical SEO issues that need to be fixed first, look at phases 1 through 4 to figure out the cost and time estimates. And that's on a keyword by keyword basis. So if it's a small site, it's easy to calculate. If it's a big site, you're going to have a lot of guesswork. let's see. He gives a formula for all in title plus referring domains, and those are kind of not very good ways to gauge what it's going to take. You'll find on a keyword by keyword basis that the degree of tuning you need is going to be very different. Like I always thought that plumber Seattle was going to be harder than plumber Olympia. And I was way off on that when I went to this, small, suburb of Seattle. It was totally jacked. It was like 3 times harder than the Seattle Metro. And that's because there was a dude named Clint Butler offering service in that area, and he jacked up the competition. And so you can't just assume things about keywords. You actually have to go and measure, because there are Clint Butlers in the world who are going to throw a big ass monkey wrench in what you're trying to do, and your assumptions will be way wrong.
What he's doing, those metrics would be a good starting filter. I've got 20,000 keywords or however crazy you are, and you need to filter those down to a reasonable 30. Those would be good to do that. And then go the core route, the rest of those, to say yes or no, for sure you want to use those keywords.
Yeah, fair enough. Is a first order sort to what's important to your goal. I think that's fine. But don't make that your total decision-making process. You need to go deeper.
It's good that he's actually thinking about that, though, because most people, they don't even bother. They're like, oh, what's the search volume? That's a keyword I want to go for now. They don't even look into any of that stuff. So I applaud you for actually considering anything in regards to deep diving.
Let's see. Would you call a surfer a keyword under-optimized if it's missing the related searches? Well, keep in mind that there are many different ways to rank a page. So anyone that would have you think that there's only one way to rank a page, that person is lying to you. So you're going to rank a page different than how a Yelp is going to rank a page, which is different than how a nonprofit is going to rank a page, which is, there are many different ways to do it. And so if you're not leaning heavily into related searches, I think you can still rank a page. And I think lots of people do it every day. So is it a place where you can get some advantage? True. Is it a requirement that you must do? No. So you have to make your own model for minimum viable SEO. That's, what is the minimum amount of SEO you can do to get the results you want? And everybody has their own model, and you have to decide what's allowed into your model so that you can make your best ROI on the work you do. And so you just don't want to load it up with everything that works in SEO, because what you'll find is that a lot of things that work in SEO still aren't worth doing. And so you have to look at what's the best use of your time, where you can make your best money. And so you got to think about a prototype model of SEO, and you have to work on your prototype. Any final thoughts before we wrap? All right. Well, thank you, everyone.